Hi Year 6, so for today's lesson on volume, we're going to be looking at something called water displacement. Now, water displacement, how is it going to help with volume? That's probably your question. Well, one thing you will need to know is this, is that when we are looking at measurement, is that 1 cubic centimetre pushes out 1 millimetre or 1 milliliter of water. So I've got my container here, and this is what you're going to need to do for today. You're going to need to find a container similar to this. So I've got a measuring glass, and what I've done is I've made sure that I've tried to put my measuring glass onto a nice even interval of 500 there. Now, your task for today is going to be this. You are going to be using water displacement to find out what the volume of different objects around your house are. So here I've put 500 millilitres of water into this container. How am I going to figure out now what the volume of different objects are? Well, you need to find some objects like this. I've got a bocce ball that is waterproof that we'll actually be putting in the water. So the first thing you'll need to do is you're going to need to do a little bit of estimating. So for me, I'm looking at this bocce ball and I estimate that it takes up about 150 cubic centimetres in the real world. So the way that I can test out to see if I'm correct or not is that I'm then going to place the bocce ball into the container here. Before I do that, on our table, on our Google Slides, we've got a table that says estimate first. So you're going to name the object and write down your estimate. So for me, I'm going to write down my estimate of 150 cubic centimetres for that bocce ball. I'm then going to place the object into my container with the water in it. Now, how I can measure what the volume of that object is that when it goes into the container, it takes up space. It has a volume and it pushes the water out. So here, the water originally was at 500 millilitres. To find out what the volume of this shape here or the object is, I'm going to need to find out what where the water level is after that. So it started at 500 and it's now made its way up to 700 millilitres. So that means that starting at 500, putting the ball in is push it up to 700. That means that this bocce ball actually takes up, or it's pushed up 200 millilitres of water, which means I know that 1 milliliter equals 1 cubic centimetre. So that means that the actual measurement, the actual ball takes up 200 cubic centimetres in our real world. So this is what you're going to need to do today, Year 6. You are going to need to find some objects that you would like to measure. Remember, 1, make sure they're waterproof, don't make mum and dad angry. The second thing that you will need to do is that you'll need to write the name of the object that you're measuring into the table and estimate first. Estimate and think, I'm not too sure, this might take up about 200 millilitres, so 200 cubic centimetres. You're then going to use the water in this container to help measure and find out how much space it actually takes up. So you will need to write the name of the object, estimate, and then actually measure, using and finding out what the difference is. The difference of how I found it out, I started at 500 millilitres, it then pushed up to 700 millilitres. That means that the bocce ball has displaced or pushed up 200 millilitres of water, and because 1 cubic centimetre equals 1 milliliter, that means that this bocce ball takes up 200 cubic centimetres in our world. Now, the last thing you will need to do is we'd like you guys to have a little bit of fun with this and make a video. So we'd like for you guys to use the Flipgrid link that we have created to choose one of your objects. We want you to estimate first before you do it and say, I think this is going to take up 200 millilitres. Put it in, measure it, post it to our classroom. If you have any questions, ask us on our Year 6 daily meetup at 9:30 on Friday, or post to our Google Classroom like you have as well. Hope this helps.